We're going to switch gears and move away from the miter side of the bench and work on the Sawhorses. I just think with all the detailing with the miter bed, and I've got to work out a lot of things to perfect the plans, that I thought it would be better at a good working height. So I'm going to make the Sawhorses. And to begin with, I'm going to take my time and make the template from 12 millimeter. But the actual Sawhorses, I'll need 4 of them to create the 2 Sawhorses. They will be made with 18 millimeter. I feel I need that because so much wood is cut away. So for stability's sake, 18 millimeter it is. Are you enjoying these videos? Do you get anything out of them? Would you like to see me make more? Well, this is your call to action. Drop down in the comments section down below. Give me a comment. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. And remember to subscribe. Come on over to thesmartwoodshop.com where you can find out more about us, see some of our projects, and you can also visit my store where you can purchase any of my plans to download instantly, or you can use our Amazon affiliates where you can purchase your tools for the same price they'll give you every day, but they share a little bit with us. The template is being made again from 12 millimeter, half-inch material. I'm laying it out carefully. Again, I'll do this once, and then I'll use this to make the Sawhorses over and over again. I need 4 pieces, but the one template will do that all for me, and then I'll be able to use it in the future as well. You'll also notice I have a different set of plans here. I worked on the design and made it a little better. These are the designs that made it to the final plans, but I had to go back and print this out because the plans I was working off had a different design, slightly different, that I worked out some of the bugs. And also note that I am cutting these cutaways. I'm either cutting a little bit larger depending on how you're looking at it, or the actual what's left is a little bit narrower by 1/8 of an inch because the bushing will add to that, as I mentioned before. You can see also I've added these little feet by just cutting away some material. I did that so that when you're on a surface, it's just not, you get these big long feet and then all of a sudden things can rock. So I've discovered that, just practical day in and day out use, that having the actual contact points to be a little bit smaller helps the bench sit a little flatter on the surface. Made the cut with the track saw and the short track, and now I'm finishing those cuts with the jigsaw. Obviously you can't cut all the way into the corners. I could have overcut because it's not going to really matter to the template, but I wanted it nice, neat, and clean. I'm going to keep this around, write save on it, and use it time and time again. Common theme, I'm going to drill a couple of holes and connect the dots. I'm making a little slot in the template so that I can just drop the router in and make one pass. This will create a slot for the strap to go through. Again, it's a little bit longer and a little bit wider than the finished slot will be. With the template made, now I can lay it out on the plywood and try to maximize the use of my plywood. Had to cut away that little bit for the miter saw base, so it kind of messed me up a little bit, but still figured it out where I could get 3 out of 1 piece there. And I'm using Emily Adams' parallel guides. Remember those? She won that competition with this awesome design. Still, even with all the commercial ones out there, my favorite ones to use. And now I'm going to just cross cut them. So each of these pieces again will be the exact size, so I won't be cutting the outsides. I'll just be cutting away material from these finished pieces. And to make these cross cuts nice and square, I am using that TSO square cutting guide. Again, another tool that's kind of a go-to between that and Emily Adams' parallel guides. It really maximizes the use of the track for moving quickly. I would have really enjoyed having my new crosscut jig for this to make these cuts to the right length, using Emily's parallel guide to get the width, and then using the crosscut jig to get the perfect length, repeatable. But with the TSO crosscut and just made the marks, I was able to move fairly quickly, and I only needed 4 of them. With the template screwed down, making the cut pretty quick, pretty easy. Sure is nice. I can do this over and over again and have the exact same cut. This technique, again, I've shown so many times on so many different tools. Just taking your time, and yeah, you can, if you want, you can pick yourself up a nice CNC machine and do a lot of stuff and be creative with it. But I still find that for production work, it is really difficult to beat a router, bushing, and taking a few minutes to make a nice pattern, and then get computer accuracy and repeatability, efficiency, all in a tool that you can carry with you in your truck. I'm not talking about any brands of tools. I'm talking about a technique here. Whatever router you have, you can get a set of bushings to fit it, and you can do this. Again, the most versatile saw available to you is your router. And remember, the big fancy tools that you can have in your shop, the CNCs and the big table saws and things like that, you can't take those to the job with you. This is stuff that you can tackle problems on the job, solve problems. It is really a versatile tool. After cutting all 4 sides to create the 2 sets of horses, just following the guidelines on the plan, so I lay out the hinges to the proper inset so they'll match up with the bottom of the bench, and of course setting them up so the barrel will stick above, and then attaching them. When doing hinges, I always use a VIX bit. That's a bit basically designed to center itself in a hole, so you push it right into the hinge hole and drill it in, it'll center it. You should have one of those if you do any door work anyway. It's a pretty handy tool, and you only need them for that, so they last forever. And then to get the proper height, I want the finished height of my bench to be 36 inches. That's standard machinery height, standard kitchen countertop height. It's just a standard height for working. And so I will use the straps, the spacing of the Sawhorses set up with the straps, so the straps will let them spread. And I know about how far apart they need to be, so I start with that, set up the straps, then I'll measure, and from there I will adjust the straps and then measure again, adjust the straps, measure again. Of course, you push on them, you stretch the strap a little bit. Whether it's the perfect height or not, you really want to focus on, say, if you're putting a table saw or some other equipment up next to it, you sort of want to match up with that. But again, you could go back to these straps and adjust them, and then you shouldn't have to mess with them anymore after you get them set up right once. Sawhorses complete. Set it all up, see how everything's coming together. Pretty happy with it, but I discovered where the Sawhorse interfered with the router. So making an adjustment, played with a lot of different places. I wanted to move them outboard, but if I did that, the Sawhorses, when they were spread, would stick out beyond the end of the bench, and I didn't want that. I wanted everything contained inside. So I moved them in just a little bit, as little as possible on both ends. So my bench, my prototype, as usual, has a couple of sets of holes. Yours, when you build it with the plans, they'll be in the right spot to begin with. Well, I think we'll call it quits here for this part, and we'll go on to the next part and start working on building the miter saw side of things. Give me a thumbs up, give me a comment, subscribe, and come on over to thesmartwoodshop.com. Thanks for taking the time to watch. Have a great